RWBY Volume 8 makes me sad. The poor pacing, Cinder's pointless and unimaginative backstory, Ironwood's weird-ass writing, the excessive Oscar torture, the rushed and lackluster animation, the terrible writing, RWBY and the others just sitting in a manor doing nothing for most of the runtime, what they did to Penny, and John stealing the spotlight yet again, among other things. It's all a mess, which is especially confusing seeing as how Volume 7, though ripe with its own issues and only decent in even its best moments, was probably the best quality-wise the show had ever been. But it's clear now the show isn't gonna get any better anytime soon. And worse than that, it lacks the soul that it once had. Volume 7 and 8 may technically be more solid, yes, but they don't have that same magic spark we've all been missing since the Beacon days, and that the writers have been desperately trying to rekindle and failing at it, because apparently they just don't understand what makes a good story. The show is frustrating, but I've been silent about it for a long while, well, despite initially building my channel off of talking about it. So, what happened? Why have things changed so much? This video isn't going to be so much about the show's decaying quality itself, so much as my turbulent relationship with RWBY, and explaining to people who've known of my work for a long time what the heck is going on. Because close friends who've kept in touch with me know why, but from the outside perspective it can seem like I took a very harsh shift, and I want to try to explain that. Like, why am I suddenly rooting for the Hound to slaughter everyone in the Schnee Manor? Aside from him being an adorable good boy. Yes he is. Oh, he's so cute. Oh my god. So grab some popcorn, get a drink, and prepare for madness. By which I mean get ready to listen to me talk about how I got into the show, how I made my channel, why my views changed so much, and what the hell is happening now. When I got into RWBY, it was my sophomore year of high school. One of my friends mentioned an anime-esque web show that he really liked. I gave it a shot, and I wound up binging all of Volume 1 and what was then available Volume 2 at the time. It had me hooked. There was something magical about the Beacon days, watching these girls with striking designs, vibrant colors, and kick-ass weapons and powers save the day from, well, back then it was a white guy's idea of what the Black Panthers were like, which, wow, okay.
There's a lot to unpack here.
But that was something that wouldn't really hit me for a long time. Back then, I was on board with wherever the story went because, well, one, I just didn't know any better about these issues. Whiteness, hello. But second, I fell in love with these characters in the world that they inhabited, or rather, the idea of these characters in the world. I've always been a sucker for female-led stories. Thank you, Sailor Moon, Winx Club, and Witch, the OG Trinity. And I recognized enough of the superficial tropes to piece this messy semblance of a story to construct my own version to enjoy in my head. I didn't realize that at the time, but I was more infatuated by the idea of RWBY than what was actually playing out in front of me. Except the fights, those were genuinely dope. Through the difficult parts of my life, RWBY was there to help distract me for a bit, or even to help reflect on things in my own life at times. I truly loved this dumb show, and I wanted to see it become its best self. So much so that when I realized I needed some kind of online platform for when I published my book, I decided to talk about the media I enjoyed, and RWBY was my main go-to. But not actually on YouTube at first. First there was a WordPress blog that like 15 people in a cricket read. But then in 2017, I decided to venture into the chaotic world of YouTube media criticism. I did my best to be as honest as possible, critiquing the show while trying to emphasize how much I did care for it and the people who created it. I wrote up a script reviewing Volume 1, did my best Ben Shapiro but gay and on crack impersonation. Seriously, why did I talk so fast back then? Like, what? And spent long days and nights editing it in Sony Vegas, or I guess just Vegas now, getting it ready. And I made sure to do this when the hype for Volume 5 was building up, though I don't think I was expecting so much tension for my inane ramblings about fake anime. Arnold, Murder of Birds himself, tweeting about how much he enjoyed my video and sending more people my way. Yeah, suffice to say, it kind of made my past self lose his mind. I wouldn't be where I am now without him giving me such a strong push out of the gate and showing his support, and for that I am eternally grateful. From there, the success I experienced still kind of is insane to me. I remember being floored seeing my subscriber count grow, seeing how many people enjoyed my videos, and meeting so many people through the fandom. Back in those days, I tried to go through my comments and give those little hearts to as many people as I could, just so people knew that I appreciated what they had to say. Those were the best times, honestly. The early days are the ones I look back on with the most fondness. But with my critiques came problems. See, RWBY's quality has always made it rather divisive, so much so that there's a whole genre of RWBYtubers whose whole brand is criticizing the show in different styles with different takes. In my naivete, I thought a gentler approach would be more welcome, and also one that kept the LGBT experience in mind. Still honest, but overall meaning well. That's what I built my brand on. I'd get a little harsher following Volume 5 given it warranted harsher critiques, but generally speaking, I wanted the show to do better. And then came Volume 6. If I drank alcohol, this would be the time I reach for a bottle. Instead, I have Coca-Cola. It's pretty clear now that I did not have the same approach with Volume 6 and 7 that I did before then. Part of the reason is because I was in a relationship at the time that was very much intertwined with enjoying the show and further establishing my involvement in the RWBY fandom. I'd rather not talk about it beyond that, but it certainly impacted my perspective at the time. But Volume 6 did make some marginal improvements here and there, and because I was genuinely enjoying the show more than I had been, I was blinded to a lot of the deeper-rooted problems that Volume 6 was still rife with. In hindsight, my existential crisis when The Lost Fable came out should have been the turning point, because it was then that I saw that RWBY was never going to be what I wanted it to be. But in my need to enjoy the show and defend it fully, as per my brand, I let that warp my thinking into saying it was okay that The Lost Fable was shallow and meaningless. And that was all cemented by the finale, the bees, and Adam. See, LGBT representation has always been important to me, and I'm kind of used to people dismissing it as unimportant and saying gay people shouldn't expect to see themselves represented because they're a laughably tiny minority. So when we got scraps of the Bumblebee ship at the end of Volume 6, I did genuinely believe that was the direction RWBY was headed in, and that we'd get explicit confirmation of their relationship soon. A lot of that is also rooted in the fact that I was incredibly ignorant when it comes to the issues RWBY has always had in depicting racism, notably with the White Fang as an allegory for racism in America. In hindsight, the fact that RWBY came out in late 2013, right around the time the Black Lives Matter movement was starting, and RWBY has a very fast production time, yeah, the White Fang really reads like a white guy's interpretation of what Black Lives Matter was. Oh my god, people still think this way. So when Adam died, I wasn't so much focused on him as a white guy's idea of what a Black Lives Matter activist was, and more on the abuse angle that the writers leaned into, likely to shield themselves from the dumpster fire they had created for themselves. Suffice to say, I let myself believe the writers were trying to do better and would fix all these problems, have clear, strong LGBT representation, and maybe even have Blake lead a new White Fang movement in Atlas. And then we got none of that. But it took a long time for me to admit that, because I was high on what we call toxic positivity. Toxic positivity is a term that I've learned about through watching a lot of anti-MLM videos, MLM being multi-level marketing, aka pyramid schemes. And to summarize, it entails forcing a positive lens on any and all experiences, even bad ones, and blocking out criticisms as being too negative. Sound familiar? That's exactly the kind of thing I bought into. Hell, I popularized the term hatedom in the fandom, only to have it used against me when I stopped blindly praising the show at every turn. Which admittedly I deserved. God, I was a dick back then. I was especially awful on Twitter. For a long time, I used that platform as a means of external validation, and was incredibly aggressive towards anyone who was even slightly negative towards the show. And for that, to anyone that I hurt, I'm sorry. It is probably too little, too late, but I do mean that. After Volume 7 had wrapped up and some stuff in my life had changed, I started to look at RWBY in a new light. I let myself be honest in how I felt. And you know what? It felt good. It felt so freeing to let go of this need to protect the show, because somehow I'd tied in my own need for validation in with protecting it and Rooster Teeth at all costs as these progressive champions. Oh god, imagine protecting a corporation as a progressive champion. Oh my god, I really drank the pink washing fluid. Oh god, surely there could have been a clearer metaphor for that. I swear I'm a writer. I swear I'm a writer. But what really spurred that on, though, was H. Bomber Guy's fantastic video, RWBY is Disappointing, and Here's Why. If you haven't already, I highly encourage you to check it out because he articulates the show's problems clearly and concisely. I may go rewatch that later today, actually. And also, he makes fantastic videos in general. He got AOC to guest star. Well, not guest star. She called in on a Donkey Kong stream he did a long while back as part of a trans charity, and it was one of the most iconic things I've ever fucking seen in my life. But I think a big reason why a lot of people are so gung-ho to protect the show and Rooster Teeth as a whole, aside from being made to live off scraps of rep and unfulfilled promises of a good story, are the parasocial relationships that we have with RWBY. Hell, the fact we call them RWBY, while cute, is a huge signifier of the parasocial nature of the fandom's dynamic with the creators. Those unaware, parasocial relationships are one-sided relationships people often have with celebrities, public figures, and now more than ever in the digital age, content creators. You love the work that they do so much, you feel like you know them personally, but they're not even aware of your existence. It's an incredibly unbalanced dynamic that can be unhealthy and even dangerous if left unchecked, especially in younger people who aren't aware of these things. Whether consciously or unconsciously, we feel connected to the people making the show, to Miles and Carrie, to the voice actors, to the other writers, and to the animators. They feel like friends that we know, especially if you're a long-time Rooster Teeth fan who was here well before RWBY came along. They interact with fans, we love interacting with them on social media, and so we want to believe that they're trying their best and to protect them, especially any creatives who know what it feels like to be put on blast when your work is considered subpar. That's literally the worst fear of any creative. But those parasocial relationships aren't healthy, and they keep us from being honest when the work isn't good. And it isn't. It hasn't been good. I was gonna say in a long time, but let's be real, I don't think RWBY ever really crossed into good so much as occasionally passable. Especially because it seems a lot of the members of RWBY, from what I've heard, especially from my friends on the ongoings of social media, really need better boundaries with their fandom. Oh god. If you want details of my latest views on the show, then I would suggest you check out the White Fang video I did back in October of last year. My friends Maxwell Media Inc. and Blake, as well as a lot of Black fans and people of color, shared their perspectives to help make that message authentic. But suffice to say, I'm done white knighting for RWBY. I mean, I've been done with that, but now I'm just saying it out loud. The show's writing is bad, but beyond even that, the dynamics of this fandom are insane and downright toxic. And Rooster Teeth as a whole is desperately clinging to RWBY like a life raft because it's what nets them most of their profits, which they could really use now seeing as AT&T has been looking to sell them off for a while now. All this while being unable to protect employees from racist and bigoted attacks, treating employees poorly with long hours, no overtime pay, pigeonholed positions, and no way to safely negotiate, and failing to deliver quality content time and time again. The fact that when you leave Rooster Teeth first, the first reason they list is I only joined for RWBY speaks volumes. It speaks volumes upon. God damn it, Barb! I do still love the show. I probably always will have a soft spot for these characters in the world that Monty created and left behind for us. But I'm also going to be honest in that I'm beyond done with this company, and the show itself is a disappointing mess, and it has not shown signs of getting better in a long time. If anything, Volume 8 was the final nail in the coffin, for me and for a lot of people. I really recommend checking out Judgmental Critters Volume 8 podcast and also review, as well as Twins Inc.'s video about leaving the fandom due to how toxic it became. Apparently someone is so angry that their car alarm went off. Wow, okay. But I love both of their work. Can't say good enough things about them. I really agree with H-Bomber Guy that it's the animators who really come in clutch trying to save the show. All the people doing like the grunt work, being forced to work insane hours to actually produce the show in spite of the bad scripts and bad direction. Oh, they're the heroes. There's a reason why it feels like there's more story through some of the little animation touches than the actual writing. That all said, I was planning on saying that I'm going to be stepping away from RWBY for a long time, but I'm not sure. Especially because there is a lot of my audience that's been missing my RWBY stuff for a long while. And if you guys don't mind me roughing the show up a bit, I'm happy to make some RWBY videos again. I won't be doing reactions or chapter reviews of new volumes anymore, as it helps me enjoy and process it a lot better, and also protects my privacy. That's the same reason I have abandoned my Twitter, aside from the Waz bag that it turned me into. Look, I've been rewatching a lot of iCarly and Victorious, okay? Alright?
Do you follow me on
Twitter.
Follow me!
But I can definitely make videos similar to my videos on the Maidens and the Grimm if you'd like. Hell, I could probably make a video all about my problems with the Lost Fable very, very easily. In any case, I hope this cleared up things for everyone and provided some much needed closure.
I don't need your closure.
I could have made a much needed talk joke here, but there's a time for puns and there's a time for action. Despite all the puns I've already made. Oh my god.
There's a time and a place for jokes.
Was this not it?
No, it just wasn't very good.
Well, at least I'm trying.
It's a disease, I swear. Going forward, I hope you all enjoy whatever content I have to offer. Actually, folks who've been with me for a long while, you may remember a certain novel I was teasing back in 2018, only to never release it because it wasn't ready at all yet. I may or may not have made significant progress on that project since then. May or may not have a little announcement for it next month if y'all are interested. Just saying. Anyhow, I'm the Unicorn of War, and RWBY is a shit show. That's right, bitches. We're bringing back the shit show catchphrase.
Wait, where are Miles and Carrie?
In this case, a body pillow. No, Miles, what are you doing? This is really embarrassing.
Ruby Rose is a 15-year-old girl.